Evening, gentlemen. Evening. Here we go again. The proper show, the old school show. With my illustrious guests, as always, Kenny Ken. How you doing, my friend?
I'm all good. I'm looking forward to this. It's been like it's nice to get away from Arsenal because since this turn of the year, Arsenal's just been a joke. Like all we've done is paper over cracks, a couple of good results against Man City and PSV, and all they've shown us is that. And sorry, winning the North London derby as well. All that's shown us is that. So what? It's still as bad as ever. We've got both cups. We've got Real Madrid in about 3 weeks' time. Let's be honest. Have we got a chance of beating them?
I don't think so, mate. Personally, but that we can talk about that, mate. We can talk. I mean, Christ, that game against Chelsea at the weekend was just a ball fest. And yeah. Anyway, DJ, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, all good, Jez. All good. Looking forward to the show tonight. It's a break away from the dross that's been served up for most of the season. It's been very, how can I say, the guns have not been firing on all cylinders, I'm afraid. It's been a lot of disappointments and, a bit like Kenny, really. I'm just getting, this season's really affected me. I'm really fed up with this season. Probably one of the worst seasons I've had for a long, long time. And, so, we will see what happens we will see what happens against Madrid, but I'm not counting my chickens, my friend. But apart from that, all good and welcome everyone.
That's what I think's nice about this show. It gets away from the dross and the shit and the rubbish and the bullshit, and we actually get back to when we had proper footballers back in the day. So let's start it off, right? I thought what we do tonight, I'll shout a player out. Kenny, you shout a player out, and then DJ, you shout a player out.
Yeah.
And we do it like that. Yeah, we do a round robin type of thing. Yeah. And I'm sure we're going to have similar players. But the one I'm going to start off first is a guy, never saw him play, but apparently quite a legendary player for Arsenal back in before the 20s, was a gentleman called Jimmy Brain. Ooh. Jimmy Brain. Quite an expensive signing for Arsenal back in the day. Came in his total career, scored at various clubs 287 goals.
Wow.
Now, back in that time period, that was a lot of flipping goals.
Yeah.
And he came to Arsenal, didn't really get the credence, didn't win any honours, be fair, but apparently quite a legendary player. From what I've read up, I was reading it up last week. I remember reading about him in various documents and books and things like that. And apparently he was reputedly until the 2017 that won the FA or lost the FA Cup, I beg your pardon, one of our best ever strikers. Joined when we were called Royal Arsenal, and then we became Woolwich Arsenal. So interesting. Not a known player really, but a player needs mentioning. That's all.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I read about him some time ago now. Lightning quick, apparently. Apparently he was absolutely lightning quick, really, really fast, and hat full of goals for us, which is anyone like that has to go down in history with the great strikers that we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. I just thought I'd throw that one in the book because obviously it's long before any of us. There's nobody alive now that would remember him, but it's just somebody that's always come and popped up when I've ever read things. So I thought I've got to throw him in the mix. Right, okay, let's move on. Kenny, your first man.
Bit again. My first striker has to be the great Ted Drake, born in Southampton, died, Rains Park. only got 5 England caps, but
Yeah.
scored 6, and he scored 124 league goals for Arsenal in about 100 and let me just check to see how many appearances it is. But we talk about Cliff Bastin, rightly so, but Mr. Drake, 167 league appearances, 124 goals.
Mm.
One of the best players in England. The only reason why we don't hear much from Ted Drake is because of the Second World War. His career was disrupted by the Second World War because obviously from 1939 up until 1945, we were all at war. But in terms of his England career, that very much got curtailed. But he only played from 1934 to 1938 for England. But in terms of Arsenal, easily one of our greatest players. Everyone talks about, the 5 goals against Villa in 1935 when we were 7-1. And ironically, in 1983-84 season, Tony Woodcock equalled his record when we beat the same team. I think it was 6-1 at Villa Park, and Tony Woodcock with 5 goals. But this guy, a legend of all legends, arguably someone who should be lionised, because when you talk about great Arsenal strikers and you talk about the ratios, players like Ian Wright, Henry, Aubameyang. Before those 3 guys, there was Mr. Drake, one of our best ever players, and obviously,
I've got him down.
Obviously, Mr. Drake as well. He was the manager when Chelsea won the league in 1955. He was their manager, so he went into management, and he made that transition, albeit not for us, but he did win the league for Chelsea.
I didn't know that. Ted Drake was Chelsea manager. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was Chelsea manager when they won the league in 1955.
Yeah.
There you go. You see, you learn all the time. You learn all. I didn't know that. But I've got him down.
I mean, there's 2 absolute legends of Arsenal, and when we do this history channel, you have to go back, and you cannot put a top 10 strike force together without the great Cliff Bastin.
Yeah,
I mean, Cliff Bastin. I mean, 7 trophies for Arsenal, 2 FA Cups. Now, when you think about the era in the 30s, football in the 30s, it was that kind of period, wasn't it? Sort of wars and...
Big up, Mama.
Yeah, and this guy, Cliff Bastin, I mean, I think it was 180 odd goals. I mean, because Ian Wright broke his record, so which he was, to this day, he's still very, very proud of. But yeah, I mean, all the titles that he won, 7 trophies, 2 FA Cups, over, I think it was over 300 odd appearances for the club, and apparently had some quotes that when he was in front of goal, apparently the crowd started jumping up and down when the ball was at his feet, because they knew that it was going to end up in the back of the net. So, it was one of them where he was so confident in front of goal, and what can you say? It has to be, when you talk about the greats of like Ted Drake, and you can't not have Cliff Bastin amongst them.
No, absolutely legend.
Absolute legend. Yeah.
Another one I want to throw in there. I just want to say this first to Mama. Mama, I'm so sorry to hear the sad loss that you had with your dad. He passed away peacefully, I believe.
Mama, please accept my condolences, Mama.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm seconding, Mama. Our thoughts with you and all the family, Mama.
Yeah, especially after the great win you had at the weekend. But
yeah,
another player I'm going to throw in here, David Jack. He was another great goal scorer for Arsenal.
Yeah,
right? Part of the old famous squad in the 34-35 season, 36, going on from there, George Allison and all that lot. Absolute phenomenal. I mean, I remember as a little kid, right? When I used to chat to my granddad used to sit there and talk to me all about the great Arsenal teams of the 30s and all that lot. And he always used to come back to this guy, David Jack.
Yeah.
And I like, you know, back in the day, there wasn't many books around when I was like 8, 9, 10 age that was big on history of Arsenal. In the following years, over the many years since that, I've lots of talk about. Well, obviously now you can research people on the internet and all that sort of thing. This guy goes very much under the radar, what he achieves at Arsenal Football Club.
Incredible.
And yeah, you know, I know it's an awful bleeding lot. It's nearly what 90. What are we looking? 95 years getting on that way. This guy played for Arsenal, but he still deserves a bit of credence because this guy, what he did was amazing at Arsenal. David Jack, and so that's another one for me. Kenny, far away.
Right, I'm going to sort of like fast forward to a player that I was being told about, and a player that I was brought up to admire. Even though I missed his era just by a whisker. Big Raddy, John Radford.
Oh yeah, he's one of mine.
When you talk about Arsenal strikers, and when you're introduced into supporting Arsenal, you got to think about Big Raddy. You know, you got to remember that Big Raddy was part of that kind of renaissance in the late '60s of Arsenal Football Club, because you know, as everyone knows, it was very barren years from '53. Up until 1970, but there were signs that we were coming back to our best, you know, by 1967, 1967, 68 season we got to a League Cup final, 68, 69 we got to another League Cup final. Obviously won the Fairs Cup in 70, got to Cup final in 72, and in between that we won the double. And one of our most influential players was Big Raddy, John Radford. He could play right wing as well, because remember he came as a right winger, but he was converted into a central striker. Now, you look at his record, it's not comparable with the great Mr. Drake, Ted Drake. No. In terms of like Ted Drake was 167, 124, was Big Raddy. You know, there was more to his game because obviously he can play right wing and a right wing, but obviously he was a striker, but very, very influential player. And he doesn't get enough credit for our renaissance, because obviously you talk about Charlie George, you talk about Ray Kennedy for that season when he was the top goal scorer with 19 goals. But Big Raddy got 15 goals that season, you know, which was just as
the Intercities Fairs Cup at Highbury. If it hadn't been for John Radford, we wouldn't have won that, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very influential player and very good striker for us as well.
Yeah, and one thing with John Radford as well, as Ray Kennedy and people used to allude to, he'd often do all the dirty work. Radford, he used to create a lot of space, and he used to do all the kind of the pushing, the shoving, the tackling, and all the groundwork for strikers. And he used to release a lot of players. He used to come off the wing a lot, but very, very good player for us, Radders.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky, privileged to actually see him play as a young kid.
Yeah.
I mean, he was some player in my book. I've mentioned him many times in the past. To me, he was a brilliant footballer. Big up Aaron. Go and support Aaron's Talks, the football Arsenal channel. Brilliant channel. Aaron. Brilliant channel. Growing nicely. Big up Aaron, man. Aces, big up to you, my friend. You're always here. DJ, throw one in.
Well, it's been a tough one, this putting this together, because when you think of strikers of Arsenal, this is why we're harping on about this modern team that we've got today, and we can't. People like us and our generation can't get our heads around. We haven't got a striker at the club that's any good. But you got to put Ray Kennedy in there, haven't you? I mean, you know, he Kennedy, powerful, strong. You know, weren't probably weren't one of the most prolific goal scorers that Arsenal's ever had, but very influential. Again, he was there through that sort of, barren time and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, he was a player with good with his feet, and obviously, when Liverpool signed him, I still think it was one of them things where we let him go, really, and he still had a lot to offer.
Yeah, we did make
Best
mistakes.
decision ever made. To be honest, it's best decision ever made to go to Liverpool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because it weren't.
He achieved great there, didn't he? Let's look at what he went on to win.
Yeah, exactly.
At Liverpool, became very much the box-to-box midfielder. If you look at the old Match of the Day videos in the 70s, you a lot of times you'll see Ray Kennedy bursting. He was Frank Lampard before Frank Lampard.
Oh,
if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he yeah, I mean, it was quite. It caused a lot of. It was disappointing when he left, and it was one of them things that, a lot of the crowd, a lot of the Arsenal faithful was obviously sorry to see him go, but it was the right move for Ray at the time. But during his time at Arsenal, he always gave 100%, and he was he good all-round striker that often dropped into the midfield, and strong, athletic. So has to be Ray Kennedy as well. Has to go on there.
I was going to mention in with that one. I'm not going to go deep on this because we've talked about this before. But George Easton, he was the same thing as Ray Kennedy. But we'll move on from that one. You've got to call. I mean, I don't know. I've had an argument and debate, not an argument, but I've had a debate about this with another Arsenal fan over the last. I've known him. We grew up together, and I said, we've got to put. I've got to put Charlie George in this. And he said, "Wow, he wasn't really a striker." And I said, "Well, it's difficult, isn't it?" Because I don't know about if you guys are going to agree with me.
Yeah.
Back in the day, right, back in the 70s and all that, we had Charlie George, Champagne Charlie, if you want to call him that. But was he an out-and-out striker? I don't know. Kenny,
I think there was more to Charlie's game than out striker, but he could score goals. And if you want to be critical, Charlie, not just his career at Arsenal, but he went to play at Derby County. Obviously, for him to justify the natural ability he had, we need to see more goal return from him because he was that capable, he was that good. And maybe he was one of those players who really wanted to entertain, wanted to create more than score goals, but the ability and the talent was there to get on the score sheet more often. But obviously, stand out, it's 1971. Not just the goal, but the fact. Let's not forget he scored in a quarter final against Man City in 71 as well. So he was very influential in that game. I believe it was an indirect free kick.
I mean, what can you say? I mean, it's a difficult one because he did get in a lot of. He was more an advanced kind of midfield player, really, wasn't he? So I don't know. And I suppose he could. I wouldn't say his actual role in most of the games was an out-and-out striker, but he definitely had to take that on board quite a lot in quite a lot of games, which he done brilliantly, didn't he? I mean, but that's a good shout.
But the only reason I had to throw him in there, I'll be honest with you, what happened in the 71 Cup final, I will never forget that to the day I die. So, big up Alex, man. Good evening, gents. I'm 43 years young and still learn a lot about Arsenal. When listening to you guys, keep this channel going. Mate, I love doing it. Love talking about the history, you know. It needs to be put out there. Anyway, my next one is Malcolm Macdonald.
He's in my list as well.
Great minds think alike, Kenny. Great minds think alike. I thought that guy when he came from Newcastle, right? I thought, he had problems, he had issues, injury, blah 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 blah. But he still banged them goals in, man. Didn't he? Still banged them in, and I thought I've got to put this guy in the mix. Some people are going to disagree with me, I think, and that's fine. That's what this is all about. We can debate it. But to me, Malcolm Macdonald, Super Mac, great player.
His knees went at Arsenal. His knees went. And I think, because, sounds Malcolm Macdonald, if you think of it, he was 1-in-2 striker. And if you know, there was a game that I always refer to in 1977 at St Andrews, 3-3. Trevor Francis got a hat-trick for Birmingham and Michael Macdonald got a hat-trick for Arsenal.
That's right.
That's the game that always stands out for me. He actually played in the 1978 Cup final alongside a very, very young Alan Hudson.
He did.
He played in that final. Alan Hudson. So we had a very good side, but we didn't turn up that day. But when you think about it, you lament the fact that if Malcolm Macdonald didn't have issues with his knees, I can tell you now, not only would he'd be close to having a go at Cliff Bastin's record, he would have played a lot more for England, because I think at the time I felt Malcolm Macdonald, you compare him to the strikers at the time, was he as good as Trevor Francis? I thought he's probably better. Was he as good as Mick Channon? I thought he was better than Mick Channon. Mick Channon and Mick Channon and Trevor Francis were given more chances. They were the more glamorous signings, and they were fit. Malcolm Macdonald had issues with his knees. It's such a shame.
No, I mean, with Malcolm Macdonald, talk about an out-and-out striker. He was, he was everything, wasn't he? He was
big, he was strong.
He was big, strong, good in the air, powerful. And, and I agree with what everything Jez said. Unfortunately, his legs went, his knees went. But if he'd have played more games and he'd have been around for that little bit longer, even 2 or 3 seasons a bit longer, he would have broke records, definitely. And he was in with that.
He was got cups as well.
Yeah, he was. Sorry, Kenny, but he was in with that mould, wasn't he? There was a lot of England forwards around at the time, and unfortunately, he didn't get the plaudits he deserved. But when he came to Arsenal from Newcastle, I remember as a young Arsenal fan, and the Geordies absolutely loved him. He was Newcastle. They were absolutely devastated when he left the club. And when he came to Arsenal, I was excited. I was really excited.
Back in the day, if you think about it, back in the day, he was a bit like the Shearer level, wasn't he?
He was, he was a superstar.
Yeah. He had a lot of pace as well. He had a good left foot. And what people seem to forget, because you look at Michael Macdonald, you always associate him with Newcastle. But let's not forget, he started his career at Fulham. Then he went to Luton Town. That's where he made his name, and that's how he managed to get his move to Newcastle. Yeah. And then he came back to. Obviously came to Arsenal, and that's where his career for that. But let's not forget, he was a very, very good manager. He was very unlucky in 1983 that Fulham finished 4th, just behind Leicester City, and in the old second division. So he missed out just on promotion. So he could have been managed Fulham in the top of the flight. He's a very, very good manager. And obviously, sadly, the dreaded bottle got the better of him. But now he's managed to, like I said, turn his life around. And right now he's a game summariser for Newcastle games, and he's back. He's living in the North East. So, I'm sure he would have been like Mama Flossie, Alan Shearer, and all the rest of the.
I bet he was going mad.
Classic what happened on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I bet he was going absolutely bonkers.
I'm going to come to you, DJ, in a second.
Yeah.
This guy here, mate, just keep more eye contact. Mate, I'm doing 3 things at once here. right? Right. I'm watching Kenny, I'm watching DJ, I'm reading the chat, right, and trying to communicate as well. How about give it a go yourself, mate? I mean, I'm not taking the piss. It ain't easy, right? I'm not a professional BBC presenter, right?
We'll get you an auto cue. We'll get you an auto cue.
Yeah, get me an auto cue, boys, and I can just watch the screen and have a map, all it coming up there. So I've got to go from there to there to there to there, there to there. Right? It's not easy, mate. It's not easy. I appreciate your comment, but it ain't easy. Give it a go yourself sometime, my friend. DJ, come up with your next one, my friend.
Well, this might upset Kenny a bit, but I have to go with him because I watched him a lot when I was a kid, and I thought he was a good striker for us. Brave, good in the air, brilliant header of the ball. Frank Stapleton.
He's in my list.
Is he your list? Okay. Yeah, I knew he would be, Kenny. I knew he would.
Frank Stapleton's an all-out. He has to be an all-out.
Yeah. I mean, what can you say about Frank? I mean, got on the end of things, good in the air, very powerful header of the ball. I mean, some of the goals he scored with his head was, incredible.
I've got him down as well, by the way, DJ. I've got him there. So
yeah. I mean, scored a lot of goals for Arsenal, important goals as well. Against and he had to come through. Again, he weren't in a prolific squad at the time. Arsenal at the time. There wasn't very many brilliant creative players. Well, there was one or two, obviously, but I mean, and he led the line a lot on his own, which was really brave of him. I mean, he used to hold the ball up, and I really rated Frank Stapleton. And shame he went to Man United, but we had a habit of selling our top players to rivals. And
money. It was money. Money.
Yeah, it was money. And unfortunately, we've sold our top players to rivals for many, many, many years. But Frank Stapleton gets in there for me, along with the greats that we've just mentioned.
Kenny, I get it. You're being neutral here tonight.
No, they're great players. It's not personal. It's how they leave the football club. You've got to leave the Arsenal Football Club the right way. I understand. I've got the greatest respect that he's from Dublin. And in Dublin, obviously, there's 3 teams in the Republic of Ireland and in Northern Ireland. In Northern Ireland, there's Rangers and Celtic. And obviously, you've got Man United and Liverpool. But in the Republic, it's Celtic, Man United and Liverpool. So obviously, he could have been a Man United fan. I know Liam Brady was a Man United fan.
Yeah.
So it was probably his dream to join Man United, especially if Man United come in for him. I think at the time, it was Dave Sexton came in for him in 81, because just before Ron Atkinson got the job. And it was a no-brainer, especially when Man United were the richest club. Well, no change anyway. They're the richest club in Britain. So he said they were going to offer Frank Stapleton a massive package. But how he forced the move left a very, very bad taste in the mouth.
Yeah.
But in terms of what a player that you can't forget, because he was just as prolific as Frank Stapleton, probably a little bit more prolific, probably more of a natural finisher, was his mate, born that we bought from Wolves. And he's born in South Yorkshire, not far from Graham Ricks, Alan Sunderland.
Alan Sunderland, yeah. And again, they were pivotal, weren't they, in that FA Cup, the famous FA Cup winning.
79.
Yeah, 79. But I mean, as I said, Frank. I mean, as I said, 108 goals, which if you look at Ian Wright and Cliff Bastin, Henry, but 108 goals and 300 and something appearances, or he was very pivotal in that FA Cup, and I remember that FA Cup when we was coasting, if you like, and then it all got a bit nervy, and then Alan Sunderland popped up.
Yeah. That's apart from 71. That's probably my second best FA Cup final I was ever lucky to go to. But
if you noticed, sorry, Kane, have you noticed that some of the players, strikers you mentioned, some of them aren't prolific, but they did a lot more outside the box and helped the team a lot. Like we're going to get to prolific goal scorers, when we get further up the list, especially when we get into sort of like the 90s, and obviously into the 21st century. But Frank Stapleton wasn't prolific, but he worked his nuts off. Sunderland wasn't prolific, but he worked his nuts off. And obviously, Big Raddy wasn't prolific. He worked his nuts off. But when you talk about Ed Greg, he was very prolific. But he was playing a fantastic team. Bastin was very prolific, but he worked his nuts off as well. But it's all about kind of if you look at the players during that era, those are periods when Arsenal weren't actually challenged for big trophies, but they were a cup team where we did really well in cup competition. No one really wanted to play us. We were very difficult to beat. But in terms of going for the big prizes, that was to come later in this podcast.
I mean, it's a good comment here. I mean, this is a great comment, I think. Would you guys have taken Ronaldo before he joined United back in the early 2000s, all day long, twice on a Sunday?
Yeah, without a shadow of doubt. But do you think it's because we know how it turned out? Because when Ronaldo first went to the football club and went to Man United, he was a right winger who bamboozled people and created chances. And there were times when he used to beat the same man 2 or 3 times, and I know that some of his teammates at Man United, like Van Nistelrooy, wanted the ball quicker. Gary Neville wanted him to help him out when he's getting attached from down the left. And Ronaldo used to switch wings without being asked. He was very much an individual player. But of course, 100%, if we knew Cristiano CR7 was going to turn out how he turned out all day long, I'd take him. But at the time, we
didn't know, did we?
I think, and let's be honest, Arsene Wenger would have been signing a right winger, wouldn't he?
I think, no, exactly.
Point. This is the question here. AB says, big up, guys. I have a question. Was Arsenal trying to sign Lillian Thurman along with Anelka? I don't know this one. Kenny, DJ, do you know?
No, I don't think
Anelka was Wenger's first signing as a 17-year-old, and he'd watched him develop at Paris Saint-Germain. And he was always his first choice. Lillian Thuram, I think, was linked later on when Anelka already joined the club. I think they tried to go for him then, and it didn't quite happen. But along with the French Revolution, but Anelka was always first on the list. Yeah,
I think was Lillian. When Wenger first came to the club, obviously, Lillian Thuram. I think he was because I remember. Do you remember in Euro '96? You had that team, because remember by that time they got rid of Cantona and Ginola, and you had players like Zidane, Thuram, what's it, Dubarry, what's his name, man? Yeah, Dubarry. No, not Tagana. It was Dubarry. Who's the guy who played Jokiev? They're players like those 4 players. Yeah, and they're all about kind of the same age. But in terms of Lillian Thuram, I think was he at Juventus already by that time?
I think he was at Juventus. I think we tried. I think we made inquiries about him.
Yeah.
After Anelka joined, when he was at Juventus, because he after that Euro '96, but. Yeah, for some reason or another, whether we didn't pay the money or not, I don't know. But yeah.
Jacob says this one. We may come to this one, Jacob. So I am going to star your comment now. We'll come back to you on that one because we haven't got there yet. We haven't got to Kanu.
No, not yet.
Thoughts on Colin Bell, Man City legend,
footballer,
legend,
world-class player, legend, Colin Man Bell. City legend.
Yeah,
England he was actually played for England as well. He was a very prolific regular for England in the 1970s, especially under Don Revie's management of England. He got quite a few caps under Don Revie. Obviously, when Ron Greenwood became England coach, I think that kind of dried up a bit. And Ron Green was all Ron Greenwood was very much going towards Kevin Keegan and making him his main man. But before that, you had Colin Bell was very much a very good England player. Obviously, Man City, come on. In the late 60s and in the 70s, Man City actually were a good team.
Yeah, great team. And that great keeper, Colin Bell, all that lot. Sammy Lee. Yeah, I mean, they were. Anyway, that's right. I'm going to throw this one in. Alan Smith.
Yeah, he's on my list. Smudger.
Funny that he's on mine as well.
Yeah, I reckon he's got to be on everyone's list, isn't he?
I mean, he was leading goal scorer 2 seasons on the bounce, Division 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The iconic goal, we all remember it. We'll never forget it.
No.
Anfield. We can go on and talk about that for a million years. But he scored many, many better goals than that.
Well, the goal in the against Palmer as well. You know, what goal that was. Where he's
final. That's the only European final. The other week, Kenny, we were talking about the European Cup. I actually wasn't there, mate. I couldn't get a ticket for that. You were there. DJ was there. I wasn't there because I tried, couldn't get a ticket. But that's the only Cup Winners' Cup final I've ever been to, and it was an amazing night out. But
great goal. I'll never forget it. Bolted down on the off volley, banged it. One thing with Smudger, over 115 goals he scored. One thing with Smudger, he was so good when the ball was played up to him. You know, he could hold the ball up, you know, to relieve the pressure off the defence, bring his midfielders into play, and he'd always find space. And again, he wasn't, you know, he wasn't like a poster boy, or he didn't come to the club with airs and graces and big cars, and he was just a generally nice footballer. You know what I mean? Nice gentleman, nice footballer. Very hard, very rarely. I don't think he was ever sent off. I don't think.
No,
he never got a yellow card. Everyone talks about Gary Lineker.
He never got a yellow card. He was never sent off. And he would take some. He used to take some tackles. I mean, some of the tackles that he took from behind and that. But he'd get up, brush himself off. He wouldn't roll around and act. And and if you listen to him today in his commentary when he does the games and that, just a generally nice fella and brilliant for us. He was absolutely brilliant for us. You know, defenders used to like pumping the ball up to him. If they was in trouble, you could just smash it long and he'd hold it up. He'd run it into the corner. You know, and surprisingly enough, he was quite strong. He was quite strong and scored a lot of goals. So, Alan Smith, I would imagine, would be on most people's top 10 of strikers in Arsenal's.
That DJB. It was one of the best bit of business that George Graham did. If you remember Alan Smith, Bank Holiday Monday, 987, we beat Leicester 4-1. Alan Smith was playing for Leicester that game. We cheered him because we knew we were getting Alan Smith. Alan Smith's first goals for Arsenal were just before was on the Bank Holiday weekend, August Bank Holiday weekend. The third game of the season, he scored a hat trick in a 6-0 win against Portsmouth. His career kind of took off. He was getting a nose play. He still scored some really important goals. Obviously, he scored in the 1988 League Cup final. Yeah, a game that we don't like talking about, but let's not forget 89 how important he was for us. In 91, he's very important for us. And obviously, you talk a lot about 94 when obviously Ian Wright was injured, or was suspended. I think Smudger was very unlucky because you think about the 1993 League Cup and FA Cup finals against Sheffield Wednesday. George preferred Kevin Campbell and Ian Wright up top, so Smudger had to come off the bench.
Yeah,
that's when I think he was definitely having like his place in Arsenal, obviously in the Arsenal lineup.
Numbered. Yeah,
definitely numbered.
Ian Wright numbered, but yeah, no, he was integral in that '89 season. I mean, really was. And again, worked hard for the team. You know, he was a worker. You know, you never see Alan Smith come off the field of play, and you'd go, "Oh, he's had a shocking Smithy." You know, he was always sort of 8 out of 10. You know,
a special mention though. You know, when you talk about him being just a gentleman, remember Norwich when we beat Norwich 4-3. We were 4-3. Yep. We were 2-0 down. Norwich were playing out of skins.
Oh,
it was when do you remember it was the pile up? It was the pile up, and Alan Smith actually was inadvertently caused the pile up because when he scored the third goal, when he got he scored a rebound off a Lee Dixon penalty that was saved by Brian Gunn. He went to get the ball, and I think it was Tim Sherwood went in behind him and bundled in the net, and that's when all the players went, "Hang on it, this is Alan Smith, nice guy, hurt a fly," and they all bundled and saved and went defending Alan Smith because that's where I think that's when I thought he definitely is well liked by his players, and he was one of the only players that Tony Adams never used to shout at because he was a very easygoing guy. He thought that shouted at him.
Who's your next guy then, Kenny?
My next guy has to be Tony Woodcock.
I got him as well.
I've got him as well. I've got Woodcock. So Tony Woodcock in the chat. We got him.
European Cup winner.
Oh man,
Forest.
Wooders.
You know, not a Forest player. Went to Cologne. Absolutely did the business at Cologne, and then he was bought by Terry Neal. Just basically, Terry Neal realised his mistake with Lee Chapman, rectified it, and I think there's a period between. He was an England regular as well. Bobby Robson loved him as well. Unfortunately, in 1984, England didn't qualify for the European Championships in France. Denmark picked them, but Tony Woodcock was very much a regular in that England squad. But for Arsenal, the goals he scored, 5 goals he scored against.
You educated me on this because I didn't know this. You told
5
me.
goals against Villa, wasn't it? 6-2. In the 6-2 win 1983.
Yeah. It was. I think it was 6-2, and it was in October 1983. On the same day, Liverpool played Luton Town. They won 6-0, and Ian Rush got 5 goals.
Yeah.
So two strikers. One got 5 goals at Villa Park, and at Anfield, Ian Rush got 5 goals. So it's one of those things when you look at Tony Woodcock, excellent footballer, brilliant player, great left foot, could hold the ball up as well, make space, and won't be tied to any goalkeeper that tried to save one of his shots. If you talk about Peter Lorimer, you know, having the hardest shot, well, Tony Woodcock had the hardest shot. If you're beyond the goal when Tony Woodcock, let fly, God help you, and you better pray that he actually he actually went in the net because he didn't hit you because he could. That left foot, he could play,
and he was quick. He was quick. Yes. He was a lot quicker than people gave him credit for. And when he used to cut inside, sometimes he was quick. There wasn't many defenders that could catch Tony when he was in full flight.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, he's in my list as well. And I was there when the 6-2 against Villa when he scored them 5 goals. Took them brilliantly. I think the 3rd goal stands in my mind.
Here's a question here, guys. AB is asking, I heard Arsenal tried to sign Maradona. Apparently this is true.
Yeah, it's true.
In the 80s.
Very true.
Apparently it's true. Yeah.
We did try to sign Maradona, and Maradona wanted to come. And the only reason why we didn't get him was because the Argentinian government, they had some sort of rule in place. I couldn't remember what it was, but it was weren't allowing professional footballers to go abroad, and he was caught up in that political kind of web where
that's right.
he wasn't allowed to go.
The Falklands.
But apparently it was all signed and the deal was done, and he was dead keen to join Arsenal because he used to watch a.
It was to do with the Falklands, wasn't it?
It was something to do. Yeah, it weren't the clubs. It was to do with the Argentinian government. But imagine if we'd have got him. Wow.
The junta, wasn't it?
Just his warming up alone would. And do you know why Maradona never used to lace his boots up on a warm up? He used to keep his boots. This is just. We're going off track, but Maradona never used to lace his Puma boots up because the cameras would home in on his boots with his laces undone whilst he was doing his warm up, and therefore they would get more advertisement because.
Is that right?
Yeah. So he deliberately never used to do his laces up before a game when he was warming up. So when he used to do all his ball skills on the pitch with his laces undone, the cameras would home in on the boots because the laces were undone, and therefore it would be extra advertising for Puma Kings. And they're the boots I used to wear. Puma Kings, best boots in the world.
Oh, fair play. Right, DJ, come up with your next player, man.
Well, we're going forward. I mean, we've got Alan Smith, we've done the Tony Woodcocks, the Frank Stapletons. I have to put Robin van Persie.
Yeah.
On the strikers. Robin van Persie to me was, in some ways, obviously, Robin van Persie to me in some ways was probably one of the best strikers skillfully that I've seen at Arsenal, apart from the great men that we're going to probably talk about later on. He scored. I remember one of the free kicks that he hit against Everton. I think it was in the FA Cup when we drew 1-1, and he struck.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that? And honestly, this guy was one of the cleanest strikers of a ball that I've ever seen. And the other goal that I saw him score was he was in full sprint, literally full pelt. I think it was against Watford, and the ball came in and he's hit it off the volley. I mean, some of the goals that he scored were spectacular. Another goal, another memorable goal against Man United when we beat them 3-2. I mean, what can you say about Robin van Persie? He was a typical player that you would associate with Dutch football at the time.
Yes, exactly.
He was everything. He was the next sort of nearest thing to the great man Dennis Bergkamp in my eyes. His control, finishing, striking of the ball was brilliant. So, Van Persie has to be in there for me. Might not be everyone's choice, but he's definitely on my list.
Everyone's talking about that volley against Charlton, New Year's Day, 2000.
Was it? Yeah.
Was it New Year's Day 2005?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
On a volley, and obviously there was another goal. Do you remember his goal in the 2011-2012 season, his last season, when he scored that volley against Everton? Yes. In December.
Yes.
He's in that season. It was basically him on his own. He took us from a precarious position when we started the season, when we panic played, and we actually finished third in the table. We actually picked Spurs. Thank God we finished third that season, because if we had finished fourth, we would have been in the Europa League, because
we would have
Chelsea obviously won in Munich. So thank God for Robin Van Persie.
We stuck with him for a long, long time.
Yeah, injuries, innit?
Injured. He had that great season. Stunning season, top goal scorer, golden boot, right? This is what fucked me off of him, right?
Yeah.
We stuck with him for like 9 seasons through thick and thin. One great season. I mean, the Chelsea game away at Stamford Bridge.
Yes, right.
Yeah, he absolutely roasted them. And then, quite rightly, I will support this. He wanted to stay, but basically his decision was that Wenger had no ambition. And he went.
He was right.
Which is right, yeah. And he wanted to stay, we was very patient with him. Unfortunately, he did get a lot of injuries. He had a lot of ankle problems, didn't he? And stuff. And unfortunately, he did have a lot of injuries. But I mean, when he played, he was a goal scorer. I mean, you talk about good goal scorers. He's on my list. So yeah.
Do you remember? Everyone talks about a Chelsea game in 2011, 2012, but 2 years before that, 3 years before that, in 2008, 2009, he scored a brace when we beat Chelsea 2-1.
Yeah,
at the Bridge. So he did score some very, very important goals for us. Obviously, let's not forget the comeback in 2012 February the 26th, 2012, when we played Spurs. 2-0 down, and we were in 5-2. Let's not forget the goal to pull it back, to make it 2-2, where he just got the ball and he's back the goal, swivel, turned, left foot, corner of the net, bang, 2-2, and we never looked back. Very, very good player, excellent player. Did the right thing for his career. Didn't like how he left the football club, but it was a case of the early Emirates era where there were a lot of players who left the football club.
Cesc Fabregas,
Adebayor as well. Adebayor, Nasri, all left to progress their careers.
That golden generation, wasn't it? And they've all progressed.
We kept all those players. Who knows? But we were still missing a midfielder who could actually be able to, boss the midfield and actually deal with the power of Chelsea and Man United, because Chelsea and Man United played powerful football.
Yeah, but we again, what the frustrating thing with Robin Van Persie is when he went to Man United, he emulated that brilliant season he had with Arsenal that won him the title.
He was the missing link, wasn't he? He was missing link.
He was brilliant. He was brilliant for Man United.
And unfortunately, we missed the rest of it. We had that one great season.
Yeah.
He went to United and another great season.
Yeah.
And we'd missed the trick. And this is what I always say towards the end of the days of Wenger. He was missing all this trick, and that's where I could never forgive him.
Yeah, no, he unfortunately with Arsene Wenger, with a lot of the players, he was a victim of his own success, really. He built an empire and single-handedly knocked it down. So unfortunately, and part of that.
When I actually look at Wenger, right, he was a bit like a Julius Caesar. He'd come to greatness. He thought he was the best, but went down way too slowly.
Yeah.
Well, the Ides of March did visit him in 2018. Yeah. And I suppose Bruce's and Cassius was Michelinat, Sonali, and Ivan Gazidis. They were the Bruces and Cassius that finally got rid of Arsene Wenger.
Yeah.
If you want to sort of go historical, but the player that I need to talk about, and he was a better footballer and a more superior footballer than Adebayor. Sorry, than my guy. No. Aubameyang is a better player than Aubameyang. Probably, gave us in terms of natural ability. and a lot of fans want to hit me, but I'm going to have to explain my reasons. Emmanuel Adebayor should have been as good as, it's not better than Didier Drogba, because he had it all. When Emmanuel Adebayor turned up for his clubs, i.e. Arsenal, Tottenham, and Man City, he was unplayable. If he decided, if Emmanuel Adebayor decided today was his day, no one can mark him out of the game. No one can get near him. He will score goals out of fashion. You think about it, if Arsenal have gone on to win the league, well, they should have in 2007, 2008, Emmanuel Adebayor would have been the player that would have got us there. As much as Robin van Persie was playing that team, he had injuries. Emmanuel Adebayor that season was phenomenal. You think about the goal against Tottenham Hotspur, where he got the ball from his back to goal, chested it, and then volleyed it in a top corner. And he scored a similar goal against Newcastle that season at St James's Park. Same sort of thing, chest on the volley. Of course, a lot of Arsenal fans didn't like the season afterwards, where he wasn't himself. Fans turned against him even before then, and obviously he retaliated.
I agree with you, Kenny. I thought that he didn't make my list, but not because I didn't rate him, not because I didn't look at his qualities, because he was a fantastic goal scorer and very underrated. And he took a lot of unnecessary stick from the Arsenal faithful, because
we do it all the time to ex-players.
Yeah, if Adebayor turned up, there wasn't anyone that could live with him. Powerful, strong, good control, could strike a ball, good with his feet. Very much like Didier Drogba. He was the Arsenal's Didier Drogba, and didn't quite get the recognition.
He could be better. He was a much better player. He was a much better player than Aubameyang.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That's an interesting point, actually. Because I've got Adebayor down, right, in my little list, and I haven't got Aubameyang.
Yeah, because if you think about Aubameyang kind of represents the Unai Emery era, and he represents the like I said, the early years of Arteta, which were frustrating years. But when you talk about Aubameyang, obviously he did fantastically well for us. But you always got the impression, I got the impression, in that last season when he won the FA Cup for us, I got the impression that his head was turned. I know he was 100% factually trying to engineer a move to Chelsea, and that was before he scored those two goals against Chelsea in January 2020. He was definitely engineering a move to Chelsea, and I know that he was actually completely, utterly pissed off. Sorry for the language. When Chelsea won the Champions League the year afterwards, because obviously he could have been part of that. Obviously, when he did go to Chelsea, it didn't happen for him, but that's another story. But I suppose at his prime, he would have loved to have gone to Chelsea and won some trophies.
And this is, I agree, Kenny. But I mean, Aubameyang made my list, and not where Kenny went. Adebayor, Aubameyang made my list, because what you got to realise with Aubameyang was, 163 appearances, and this guy in a very short amount of time racked up 92 goals.
Absolutely.
92 goals in 163 appearances. I mean, he racked up them goals in no time at all. Against
well, he's a golden boot, wasn't he?
He was prolific, really, and he he was like 20, well over 20 odd assists as well. So he didn't just score goals; his assists as well was very, very important for the club, and scored some brilliant, important goals as well. Unfortunately, I still say that if he'd have been at the club for another 2 seasons, he'd have probably gone on.
I agree with you in that respect. Only if we had a different manager. I think Arteta's style of play was a source of frustration for Aubameyang in terms
Oh
of
yeah,
like
yeah, and he didn't handle him, and he should have done, and he should have done. He should have handled him.
Yeah.
What about this one? What about this one? Kanu.
Yeah.
Awkward, isn't it? Awkward.
He didn't make my list. I won't lie, he didn't make my list, but he was a fantastic player for us. But
it's a tricky one, isn't it?
It's a tricky one. It's worth a debate. I ain't gonna lie. It's worth a very long debate because
I honestly think he could have gone on to be a great player at Arsenal, but it was thereabouts. I mean, the great hat trick, we all remember it, Stamford Bridge, we were all there. It was a great, I mean, the stupid size 14 boots he had to wear, you know what I'm saying? But he scored some great goals. You can't deny it. But he did do some stupid nonsense. Well, he had to have the replay in the League Cup. But
that was Overmars, though, isn't it? Overmars was part of that.
He was very skillful, wasn't he, Kanu?
The only good thing about it is that at least the bookies paid up the fans who bet on an Arsenal win.
I don't know. I don't bet, so I wouldn't know about that.
No, fans were paid out because it was very unprecedented what Arsene Wenger did. He actually replayed the game.
Yeah.
Which was a very generous thing to do. He didn't have to, but it was very generous.
No, it's quite right. It was clearly, the bullshit that he said, he didn't understand the rule.
He knew what he was doing, Aubameyang.
He knew what he was doing. He knew exactly. He's been a professional footballer for fucking 10 years. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Overmars knew what he was doing.
We'll paste over that one, right? We'll paste over that one. Right.
Yeah.
As we come to the end of this, Kenny, have you got another one you want to throw in the mix?
Well, we've finally got to do it. Before we get to the greatest ones, he hasn't made my list, but it was a crying shame because he had probably more natural ability than the best players we've ever had at the football club. Nicolas Anelka.
Yeah.
His natural ability was criminal. You had that. It just shows you one thing. You could be built like a man in terms of like your arms, chest, and your legs and speed, but mentally, when you're a kid, which he was, because he was only 18, 19, 1920, it was never going to work for him because he couldn't deal with the adversity. He couldn't deal with the fact that players weren't passing to him. He couldn't deal with the fact that sometimes players couldn't get him. He was intimidated by Bergkamp. He was definitely intimidated by Overmars, and he didn't know how to mix. He felt everyone hated him, but he was very intimidated because of his age.
Yeah.
So he wasn't able to make the best of his career. But if you had the Nicolas Anelka with the mentality he had when he went to Liverpool and Nottingham and Man City, and obviously when he went to Bolton and Chelsea, if he had that mentality when he was at Arsenal as an 18-year-old and 20-year-old, which is impossible, but if he had that mentality all day long, I don't think we'd have got Thierry.
No. And when Wenger signed him, 17-year-old kid, when he came to the club, I mean, I remember seeing Anelka for the first time. I went and saw him in a reserve game, and I'd never seen anything like it. He was so quick and he was so direct, and he could finish. And I thought, this is going to be an absolute Arsenal legend. But it's true what Kenny said. He had, unfortunately, issues with not being able to really get on with everyone, and he felt everyone was against him, and he just didn't fit in, unfortunately. But which is a shame because
brothers, though, wasn't it? Really, come on, that was a lot of his brothers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He
had an agent as well, didn't he? I forget his agent who was playing mind games with him as well. I can't remember the agent at the time, but he had a lot of.
Was it Penny? Was it Penny Zahavi?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember he had a lot of issues with his agent, and his head was being turned a lot, and he wasn't really allowed to develop his career at Arsenal, which is a shame because Ian Wright said he was one of the best kids he's ever seen, even of today. If you spoke to Ian Wright today and said, what do you think of Anelka? And he said what he used to do in training and what he used to see, he's never seen anything like it. Not even what Henri done. He's never seen anything like it.
It was a shame, really, because he had
having your brothers with you would have helped him settle, but didn't work, did it?
Yeah. No. So I mean, it was definitely worth a mention. Unfortunately, he didn't make any of our lists, but he was definitely worth a mention.
Kenny, have you got enough one you want to throw in the mix?
Well, obviously, you got to get down. You got to get down to the territory of Ian Wright.
Yeah,
you have to Ian Wright. Ian Wright. You got to get Ian Wright. Say no more. He broke Keith Bastin's record.
Yeah.
If you talk about Ian Wright, it's remarkable, but it isn't remarkable. But one thing I would say about Ian Wright, it's actually a disgrace that he wrote to football clubs, couldn't get trials. He went to Brighton, and Chris Catlin picked an Irish kid called Joe Penny ahead of Ian Wright. He didn't make it as a footballer. You try to tell me that player who we saw at Crystal Palace play for England and play for Arsenal, you try to tell me that he got rejected by clubs. Are you having a laugh? He joined the game at 21, and it took for Steve Coppell to actually persuade Ron Nose to say, I just discovered someone who could play for England. I'm shocked that Ian Wright was rejected by clubs. Can you imagine what it was like for Steve Coppell to actually watch this guy come for trial, be registered for Dulwich Hammer? He didn't actually play for Dulwich Hammer. He probably played the odd game here and there, but he needed to have his registration. But he got the trial, and unbelievable. I mean, his first game, Leicester City away in the League Cup, scores. His next game, I think he scores a hat-trick against Southampton.
Yeah, I remember the one. I remember the hat-trick against Southampton very well.
And
that low drive shot.
That season, he actually picked Gary Lineker by one goal on the last day of the season. Another hat-trick against Southampton at home this time. And then you think about the running for the FA Cup finals and League Cup finals at Sheffield Wednesday. Ian Wright, match winner. What more can you say about that guy?
No, he was just phenomenal. Quick.
I went to watch him play at Dulwich Hamlet, where Crystal Palace bought him from. The only reason I was that down there was my mate Paul was the goalkeeper for Dulwich Hamlet, and they were playing Bromley, and Ian Wright scored 9 goals in that game against Bromley, and it was quick chat back now. My mate Paul and I were up at the park, up at Highbury, and we had a kickabout with Pat Jennings. And Paul was a bloody good goalkeeper, really good goalkeeper. And he was the goalkeeper of Dulwich Hamlet. And I used to occasionally go and watch him play. And this guy was there rocking up. And his ambition, according to my mate Paul, was to break the net. He wanted to do a Peter Lorimer, break the net. Like in the goal, and Paul said in training, he actually admitted to me in training, right? He said, "You fucking get out the way." He had that hard a shot, and he said the guy. Well, when Ron Nodes and that lot took him from Dulwich Hamlet to Crystal Palace, it was like he made his dream. Yeah, I'm great player. Not keen on him now, to be honest. With his,
he has to play at the gallery, doesn't he? He has to play at the gallery, unfortunately. But with Ian Wright, I mean, some of the goals he scored, the one with the overhead, and then he flicked it back over. I think he was getting Everton, and then he's just locked it.
Oh, right. Southall.
Neville Southall. I mean, that goal was just fantastic. But there was loads of goals that he scored.
Do you remember the chip against
celebration as well, wasn't it?
Swindon? Remember the goal against Swindon on Boxing Day?
Oh, amazing. But it was his celebrations as well, wasn't it? The crowd adored him. It was his celebrations and
great player. I mean,
he was good at Palace. He had a brilliant
right and bright, remember?
But he also had a horrific injury at Palace.
Yeah, that's right.
I think he broke his leg, didn't he, at Palace?
Twice.
Twice broke his leg, so he had to come back from a leg break twice. We definitely had the best. I mean, that was probably one of our best signings that we have made, I would say.
Do you think it was unlucky?
Next one. This is one I question myself a little bit, Kenny, DJ.
Who is it?
Attacking midfielder, striker. We got to put him in there.
Who's
the
that?
all-time greatest, Thierry.
Dennis.
Thierry.
No, he's put Dennis Bergkamp.
Let's go Dennis Bergkamp.
Is it Dennis Bergkamp you put in or Henri? Who'd you put in?
Henri. The great.
Oh, Henri's the best player we ever had.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think, okay, we can go down this one. Personally, the greatest player I've ever seen at Arsenal Football Club, personally, is Dennis Bergkamp. Greatest goal scorer, striker, attacking left wing player, if you want to put it that way, is Thierry Henry.
Yeah. I mean, what can you say?
It's a question.
Can I ask you guys a question? Obviously, it's your show, Jez. I don't know whether you were like me, but I always got the impression that when Thierry Henry played for us, I felt that we'll never lose a football match when he played.
No.
He just gave me such confidence that everything was be all right on the night because Thierry Henry played for us. I never felt we were going to lose a game when he played for us.
Never. I totally agree with you. That guy, what he done with the goals he scored and the control he had of that football, running at full pace. I mean, you try and sprint, Usain Bolt-like, if you like, with a ball at your feet without looking at it.
Yeah,
he used to skip, didn't he? He used to
honestly. I don't know. I've never seen a player to this day run full pelt, literally 100-meter sprinter, because that's what he could have done. He could have. I think his 100-meter sprinting time was like stupid. Like, it was. He could have been a sprinter, running at pace with the ball at his feet. And without looking at the ground once. Never, you look at Martinelli today and his head's down all the time.
Head's down.
Never
that's right, yeah.
And that is why he scored a lot of goals and got away from his defenders. It wasn't just his pace. It was the fact that he could move the ball from one foot to the other without looking at it at pace. And that the defenders just couldn't handle it. And his goals were just breathtaking.
It's the way, I was watching it the other night, that game against Liverpool, right? I watched the replay back in the archives, and he was like skipping about through their defence, and he was like, it was like, how can I describe? I find it hard to describe it. It was like he didn't kick it, he glided it.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah,
like he glided it. There was no effort behind it. It was just like.
It's just his finishing as well, though, wasn't it? I mean, you all remember the goal against Real Madrid and the goal against Spurs where he's picked the ball up and he's just run with it. And I mean, he used to sit defenders down for fun, didn't he? I mean, I mean, what he used to do. And all the defenders now, if you asked all the defenders that played in the Premiership, who's the best player you've ever played against? And they'd all say Henry, and how he never got that Ballon d'Or, I do not know.
Yeah, well, it's corrupt. We know that. It's always, that is the most corrupt.
Yeah. Exactly.
But going back very quickly, what you failed to mention about Ian Wright, he never got the England recognition that he 100%.
You know what that was. Ian Wright, you think about it, right? Ian Wright was probably about 10 years older than some of his competitors. Obviously, Les Ferdinand was 3 years. Les Ferdinand was like 3 years younger. But you think about it, during that period, especially around the corridor of Euro '96, you had Stan Collymore, prolific goal scorer, Robbie Fowler, prolific goal scorer, Alan Shearer, the best, prolific goal scorer.
Ian Rush.
Sheringham scored goals, and obviously you had I've left that one. Les Ferdinand scored goals. So England had the pick of some really great strikers who just couldn't stop scoring for their clubs. But I do think that Terry Venables treated him harshly. I don't know why Terry Venables treated him harshly. I didn't like the way he treated Les Ferdinand either, Terry Venables.
No.
But I thought that Glenn Hoddle was the best thing that ever happened for Ian Wright, because he actually gave him his career back. And then, obviously, had it not been for injury, he would have played at the World Cup in '98. He would have gone.
Yeah, true. But on Henry, and the Henry and the Bergkamp debate is a bit like Messi and Ronaldo, isn't it?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
It's the Arsenal version of like Messi and Ronaldo, isn't it? The Henry debate, because
there's no wrong answer, is there?
People are, to me, it's Dennis Bergkamp, because his brain, his football brain, was just out of this world. And it's true. And John Hartson said that if Dennis Bergkamp played on snow, he wouldn't leave any footprints.
Exactly. He played in his slippers. That's what I call it. Played in his slippers.
Yeah. He was just silky, graceful, and brilliant. And he was.
This is going to be a $10 million question. This is a $10 million question. This one.
Yes.
Out of all the discussions and players, we've discussed some great players tonight. No question. And chat, you're welcome to put in here as well.
Yeah.
Out of all the players we've talked about, who is the best?
Striker?
Yeah. Who's the best of the best? For me, I'll go first. For me, my best ever striker, I'm sorry, I've got to say it, is, to me, Henry.
Yeah.
Same. Same.
You cannot think of all-time best strikers and not say Henry. And it just goes to show, though, what our problem is now. I can't believe we've spoke about all and there's some strikers that haven't made the top 10 that was also valuable to Arsenal. See, I like Charlie Nicolas. I thought Charlie Nicolas, when he comes,
you two were the only people who had the opportunity to have a Charlie Nicolas haircut.
Yeah, and I did, and you have to mention, even though he hasn't made our sort of top 10, you have to mention Charlie Nicolas, because he was very important at the time.
Oh, great goals!
Scored
great goals.
Yeah, great goals. And he was brilliant with the crowd as well. Crowd loved him.
Well, he was like he was the only idol I remember where you actually looked at him and you wanted to be him, because I saw a lot of people with some very long hair, and you just remember it, Charlie, Charlie. Remember the song.
And then you had another person that took a lot of flack, a bit like Adebayor, if you like. He took a lot of stick from the Arsenal faithful then, and I quite liked him, was Olivier Giroud.
History
be kind to Olivier. History is going to be very kind to Olivier, because Olivier, the reason why history should be kind to Olivier is because you think about it. You think about how he actually, compared to the footballing upbringing that Anelka received, Henry received, and obviously Ali Adebayor received when they went to Clairefontaine. This guy he wasn't good enough to go to Clairefontaine.
No.
Our equivalent of St George's Park or Lillishall, France had Clairefontaine. He was never good enough to go there. He actually spent a lot of his career in the lower echelons of French football.
He did.
And he actually, it was actually when he won the league in 2012 with which French team won the league at 2012? It was one of the obscure French team won the league in 2012, and that's how he got his move. I'm just going to find out. Let me just find it out because it's very. No, I'll find it out for you. I'm going to go 2012 French league winners.
Kenny.
Yeah.
Kylie wants to bump into you, fannies. Go and have a bump into Kenny, mate. Have a good day out. See you later.
Oh God, silly man. Behave yourself, man. We just we haven't done anything wrong. Just because, Montpellier. That's right. It was Montpellier. He won the league with Montpellier, and against the odds, Montpellier won the French league. Giroud played for that team, and he got a move to Arsenal. And he really hasn't looked back. You think about it, he's the top goal scorer now for France.
Oh, he's done brilliant for France. Yeah. But I mean, again, didn't make our top 10. But I just thought those two needed a mention. Charlie Nicolas and Olivier Giroud.
Look, he did it at Chelsea as well. Bastard. The bastard scored against Chelsea, and then when he was in the bus, he was going. He's actually taunted Arsenal and went, "Thank you, Arsenal." Because I think it hurt him when Arsenal got rid of him because they bought Aubameyang and Lacazette. It hurt him badly, hurt his feelings.
Yeah, he wasn't kind to Arsenal, was he, after that? But there you go. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, it's been a pretty bloody, brilliant, bloody debate with these absolute legends in Kenny, DJB. Always speaking the facts, absolute knowledge. I just wish more people would watch and learn what we once had at this club and what these gentlemen absolutely know about this football club. Because let's be fair, these two guys know more about Arsenal than anybody else out there on YouTube. We hear all the chat. We hear it all about different channels, this knows football, blah, 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 bullshit. People in this Arsenal channel out there, they know nothing about this club. And it's always an honour to do this show. Next week will be a different show about what the old school is about. Kenny, my friend, as always, thank you for your legendary chat.
You know what? As I said before, I couldn't have done this show without you two. You're the most perfect combination in terms of going through Arsenal History Channel, because the memories you think about it, there's loads of things that we know so much about our great club, we've forgotten half of it. That's how much we love.
But when you I mate, you're right, Kenny and Jez, and vice versa. I couldn't do it without you two. And honestly, the amount of minutes and the amount of goals that I've seen over the years, we do our best to remember all of them, but it's hard going. But one thing you do remember is great players at Arsenal, and may they never be forgotten.
Well, definitely. It's just a shame that the current players can't emulate the current. There's a lot of players at our club at this as we speak who are missing the opportunity to become one of the legends. All they've got to do is win something, and we'll talk about you in the same sort of glowing terms that we talk about the players of yesteryear. Now, there's some players that we spoke about haven't won anything for Arsenal, but they're still levels above what we're seeing before, what we're seeing in front of us now.
Yeah. 100%.
That is absolute fact. The strange thing is that, I get it, hate, because I've got a YouTube channel. I take it on the chin. I don't give a shit. Kenny, DJ, what we've forgotten is more that most of these little Muppets, the two little Muppets, or the one, it's the same person in the chat here, will ever know. The thing is, what is sad, they don't want to open their brains and listen and learn. And that's the sad factor. That's modern world. That is the modern world now. People
sadly so
just want to shut their brains off and forget about anything that was before their timeline, because they don't have the brain to understand, listen and learn, and that's a sad factor of life now. That's not just in football, Kenny, DJ, right?
Yeah,
I see it in everything in life now, right? I'm an avid fisherman, right? And I was watching a channel about, I'm not going to bore you with it, but it's about iconic fishing back in the 50s. And people say, it's irrelevant now. It doesn't matter. That's a long time ago. No, it's not. The gentlemen and the people that actually did that back in the 50s is where you, modern anglers, have got all your stuff from. It's them. They did it.
That's it.
This is no different to what is happening at Arsenal Football Club, because there was the gentlemen back in the day who were greatest at Arsenal, some of the greatest managers that achieved greatness, and that you dismiss it. It's sad, man. It's so sad.
Well, the thing is, there's not many clubs with the history that Arsenal have got.
No,
you couldn't do a massive history channel about Chelsea, unfortunately, and all the trophies they've won and everything else. You can pick out but the thing is with Arsenal is that it's steeped in history and tradition, and unfortunately, the way it's going now, we wouldn't say it if we didn't mean it. Unfortunately, the way the club is going now is tarnishing our history and tradition, which is a great shame.
It's modern football. Modern football fans want highlight reels. They don't want actually to watch. Go watch an hour of great football chat, and it's a shame. I think another thing we've got in modern football is that people are seeing an opportunity, and they're seeing a hole in the market where there is opportunities for people to identify themselves as football fans in order to make a name for themselves, get a career out of it, albeit short term. And I think that supersedes them as a fan. And they know the situation. Don't do this. Don't get upset when we lose. Don't say anything controversial.
No.
Always back the manager and back the club. You'll get work. Yeah. And that's how they work.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've just come out of nowhere. They're not, I wouldn't say they're not Arsenal fans. They're Arsenal fans. But they're more fans of the opportunities that await them rather than being Arsenal fans.
Exactly. I was wondering, Jez, when are we going to do our all-time top starting 11 team?
Next week, mate. Next one.
Next week.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's going to be tough. So that's all
going to be interesting.
All the midfield players, and you've got to pick. Do we pick 13 for the bench or 11?
Yeah, no. We'll do the 11. We won't go to the one substitute story. Right, we'll have the full 11 plus a full bench. Let's go Champions League level. Let's go full bench, first 11 and 7 on the bench. 7. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Starting from the goalkeepers.
Yeah, all the way.
Defenders. Oh, that's going to be tough. You've only got.
It's modern football, isn't it? It's modern football.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. That'd be legend. That one.
That's going to be tough. That is going to be tough. That is going to be because you've got to miss out. There's going to be some great players that are not going to make the all-time Arsenal.
Semblance already is asked about what formation we're going to use.
Oh, Christ. Now that's going to be too hard.
4-4-2. Should we stick to the old 4-4-2?
Yeah, let's go 4. Yeah, let's go 4-4-2. The old WMs. Let's go Herbert Chapman's.
Have we got to put the manager in charge of this team as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kenny, Jez, I'll tell you, you're cruel, mate. You're cruel.
Hey,
let's go for it.
We have to wait and see. Wait till next week.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention. My head's already going round and round and round now, trying to pick the manager for this team.
Yeah,
you know what? The players are always more important than the manager.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough one.
My head's spinning already, actually. But,
so that show will light up next week. That's the Arsenal's all-time 11 plus the 7 subs and the manager of the team. Wow.
Yeah. And formation is 4-4-2. There you go. AB, guys, will you bring on other long-term Arsenal fans? I'd love to, mate. If anybody's around, they're more than welcome. It's not exclusive. It's not exclusive at all. There's many people out there that know their history. And it's not, more than welcome. More than welcome. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people that know their stuff, but they won't come on because they don't want to just come on. And it's a shame, really, because I've been chatting to a few guys for the last 2 months that know as much as me and more. Not a lot, mate. Just say that. Let's just say that. I don't think much of her at all. Full of bullshit. Never been to Highbury. I asked her the question. I told you this last week. I said on her channel,
surrounding Highbury,
name the 4 roads around Highbury, and she couldn't name them. There. So you call yourself Highbury Squad, and you don't know the 4 fucking roads around Highbury. Yeah, well done. Well done. That says to me you've never been there. Because even if you only ever went in the clock end of the North Bank, you'd know the other fucking roads. Surely. Please, dear God. But, hey, there it is. Kenny, mate, as always, legend. Start thinking about next week.
Thanks for having me on.
It's been great, Jez. Been great.
Always welcome here. I might be doing, I don't know if you boys are about on Thursday. I need to do more shows. I've been told off. I might do a show Thursday night if you guys are around. If you're busy, you can't. Don't worry.
I think I might not be around this Thursday because I've been. My wife is she's like soul marking me about the amount of podcasts I do. She wants me to do.
No worries.
So like I said,
Sunday evening, Jez, I'm around. I don't think we've got anything on Sunday evening.
Yeah, I can do Sunday evening.
International football.
I can't watch it. I can't watch that, Jez, Kenny. I can't do it.
Well,
I don't know why I can't get motivated for these pointless qualifiers.
No, I can't either. It's just balls the shit out of me.
That's another debate.
It is a debate, but sorry, Kenny. I did once listen to you, and I did watch. I did. You've got to admit it. I did watch the World Cup, right? And I was like, no. Anyway, there we go.
There's some crap matches there. You're right. Yeah, definitely.
You admitted it. You said, Jez, I don't blame you. They were shit. Anyway, people, Kenny, where can we find you, mate? On Insta.
You can find me at Kenny Ken 1972.
Yeah. You can find me hovering around the different streams and the different podcasts and channels. I haven't got my channel as yet. Might do in the future. We'll see. But you definitely see me on hovering around different channels. Just want to say thank you everyone for coming on to Jez's channel. Smash the likes, and we're building up a nice little community, and it's brilliant. This history channel, fantastic. Also, Kenny, I've got my Essex cricket.
Definitely. I'm Middlesex.
DJ, you're not.
I think Jesse's going to press the off button there.
I am a cricket man. Yeah, I do like my cricket, like Kenny Ken, and I will be going to Essex. Can't beat Essex on a Friday night. Can't beat.
That's
Can't
too
beat.
far for
Can't
me.
beat.
Hey, mate, I don't know what to say here. Anyway, we'll leave it there. No, I'm joking.
Cheers, gents.
Take care. I'm good to
Yeah.
you.
See you all soon, guys.
See
Thank you
you
very
later.
much.
Take care.
Stay safe.